Good afternoon, everyone! I forgot to make sure that this scene on OBS remembered where my microphone was. Anyway, Kalla here. Welcome to my live stream. Glad you could make it today. Today, some more Phoenix Wright. Episode 5, Rise from the Ashes. We finished our second day's investigation last time, and we'll be going into the next phase of the trial. We found a bunch of interesting stuff, so let's see if we can use it to prove our client's innocence, eh? Hello, Drag. Hope you're doing well. Let's jump in. February 24th, 9:41 AM. District Court Defendant Lobby number 2. So, what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. You've been watching Precure, have you? I haven't watched Precure in a long time. I think it was Princess Precure, the last one I watched. And a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana! Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how'd it go? It is as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. Wait! Wait, you're not allowed to do that! I mean, you are, but don't! Don't go pleading guilty to this, Lana. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. Oh! Okay. But, Lana! Don't tell me you... Much to my regret. I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Capital punishment being the death penalty, Drag. The sky. We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. Yeah, that being Mr. Sheriff guy. Who I didn't trust to start with. They belonged to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Blood-stained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Sky? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. February 24th, 10 AM. District Court, Courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Ms. Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is... I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain in both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yeah, he disappeared because he was bundled into the back of Edgeworth's car. New theory. Jake Marshall, being the one responsible for the CCTV in the evidence room, messed with the computer so it recorded a different time for the death there. And then bundled the body into the back of Edgeworth's car. Yeah, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Wow. This is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things. I think he's just like, well, this is what I've got. I gotta go with it. I don't think he has any better idea of what's going on than we do. Even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. Oh yeah, okay. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? Very well. Let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir. Officer Mark Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that will be murderer, sir. That's not an occupation. Meekins. So, you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who done it. I'd never kill anyone again, sir. You gotta believe me, sir. Actually, what we'd like to hear from you is, sir, I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Yes, assassin would be a valid occupation, but that is not Meekins' as an occupation. At least I assume. Unless he's putting on this whole act to make us think he's a bumbling police officer. In which case, well played, but I don't think he's that smart. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, sir. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir? Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir, as you wish. After all, I am part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir. You can't fault him for lack of enthusiasm. That's true. We cannot fault him for lack of enthusiasm. What we can fault him for is lack of brain. The crime report, sir. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life, then I did it. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you? I do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted, and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defence may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Yeah, why were you assigned to guard the evidence room that day, please? Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I'm in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. He's higher up the ladder than I thought he was. Yikes now. There's a scary thought. Right? Right? Evidence transferal was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the Chief Detective, sir. I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for the day, sir. So you weren't guarding the entire evidence room, just the Blue Badger that was also in the evidence room. Once again, I would like to fingerprint this. I see. Sounds like a very, important mission. After the award ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, you're the reason it was in the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card. Am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one here around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed on here, right? I'm assuming he must be the 491. There it is! I found it! It's this one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 498-89596. That's my number, sir. I see. Huh. But the number 4989596. It's shown as being used twice. Well, I guess that's when he put the blue badger in there and when he followed Goodman in, having seen him on the monitors? Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time is when I relocated the blue badger to the evidence room, and the second time is when I went to go get him after everything settled down. I see. So it was during that second time when... yes, sir, that was when I spotted the man on the security screen. Data added to the ID card record. I was only doing... No, wait. We've had that one already. That doesn't feel like I need to... you did what, Akins? What exactly do you mean when you said you did it? I know I don't look like the type, but I'm really at a kung fu film, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him round and performed a disarming manoeuvre. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. What? I see. He must have been desperate. Next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood, and then the next thing I knew... Yes? He punched me right in my face, sir. So you disarmed the knife, in the process you got yourself slashed in the hand, I guess. And then you got punched in the face. I'm not sure you killed the guy, Meekins. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious. Oh. Right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was around 5:30. He hit me right in the head too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir, the Blue Badger, sir. I returned into the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now. This is what he was telling us yesterday. No, we need to try and skim some more details from him. For starters, what was an officer from the General Affairs Department doing in there in the first place? Yeah, Meekins went through a lot. I mean, I think he may have actually succeeded in disarming the opponent. The problem was, I think he disarmed him by grabbing the knife by the blade. Which is not ideal. I mean, it's potentially better than the knife ending up in other parts of you. But... Right, let's money's worth. Okay, so there is actually one that we didn't press anyway. I guess this one. This one we didn't press. Nope. Nope, nope, we did this, we did this. We filled that in already. This one, I was only doing what I was trained to do. That's the one we didn't press. So, you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir! A knife! Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you. What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Okay, I take it back. He, flailed into a knife. Meekins. I think Meekins needs to redo his self-defense course. Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be... When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honour. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point. Yes, Officer Meekins? With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir. The Chief? Delivered it? What is that, a videotape? Yes, sir, that's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. Oh, good. This is what we needed. Objection! What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased. Yeah, Chief Gant doesn't like you, Edgeworth. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word murder, sir. It scares me. A video of a real murder. Just what are we getting ourselves into? Yeah, I think I remember what this video looks like. It's like the main thing I remember from this case. Yeah, there it is! Hello, Blue Badger! Hello, someone in a coat that looks like Goodman. Who's then opening that locker. Was that Goodman's locker? Here's Meekins. Here's the Blue Badger again. Here's Meekins getting slashed. Here's Meekins grabbing the guy. That's Meekins almost getting stabbed. And that's Meekins on the ground. Where'd Goodman go, though? You'd think he'd have to have walked past that camera. Edgeworth. Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that wriggling piece of plywood? Sir, that was the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir. It's a blue badger, sir. Camera felt like it's in a weird place, right? Shouldn't CCTV cameras be like higher up? But you see, it's got... They had to give us a camera view from that angle because we need to not see Detective Goodman's face. On the basis that it's probably not Detective Goodman. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Security video added to the court record. Yes, well, anyway. This tape seems to prove that the witness did encounter someone in the evidence room, and some sort of activity did take place. Your Honour, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that all right with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. New testimony. His face can't be clearly seen in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. Yeah, that is the thing, isn't it? The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. Detective Goodman didn't happen to be missing any of his fingers, did he? What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective has been given a locker equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have had to have been Detective Goodman. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. I don't know where this cross-examination will lead. But everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start. Surely there's a way to reset the fingerprints on the locker. Yeah. Probably. Right. I need to look at what we've got again. Right, we've got Goodman's ID. The King of Prosecutors Trophy. Edgeworth's knife, allegedly the murder weapon. The parking stab, the blue badger. The autopsy report, that he got stabbed once. The note, which relates it to SL9. Lana's cell phone feels irrelevant at this point. Parking lot floor plans at the moment are irrelevant. Crime photo, victim's shoe that has Goodman's and Lana's blood on it. switchblade knife, which also has blood on it. The ID card record, where we know everyone except all the sevens. All the sevens feels like it's got to be like the chief of police or something. It feels like this, like he would deliberately have his assigned as that or something. We have a screwdriver. Goodman's lost item reports, which we don't know what it was for, because he didn't finish it. The evidence room floor plans. So the camera's here then, which is a ridiculously weird place to put a camera for this room. You'd want it more... Well, I mean, it could be... Here feels... Actually, no, you probably wouldn't want just one camera here. You'd probably want one, like, over here to look down this bit, and one either at this end or at that end. Anyway, we have the rubber glove that fell out of the locker on that video. We have the evidence locker. Only the assigned detective's prints can unlock it. Random jar. Marshall's bloody fingerprints and the security video. But why can't his face be clearly seen in the video? What is wrong with you people? Tell me, were you able to get a good look at him? At the face of the man who attacked you with a knife? Sir, if you must label people as having seen or not seen the man's face, I believe I would be classified as the latter? So you have no way of proving it's Goodman then? The latter? But you were standing right in front of him, were you not? More to the point, you are the person who fought him, aren't you? Oh, yes sir, but I didn't get a clear look at his face, sir. I'm not the kind of guy who looks directly at people when talking with them, you see. Mood. Yeah, that's a good trait for a police officer. Yeah, I was also about to say that. That seems like a bad idea. Still, I'm sure it was him. I'd bet my badge on it. But you don't know that for sure, do you? You never actually saw Detective Goodman's face. Well, I suppose you might say that. That is, if you must label people as having seen or not seen it. Since his face cannot be identified in the video, only you can verify it. Why is everyone looking at me? If I had to label your stares as disturbing or Meekins. Having been shown a questionable video at best, we are not in the best of moods. Now please be more certain when you testify. Yes, sir? You claimed the man who brandished a knife on you was Bruce Goodman. Tell us why you are positive it was him. These lockers, is there no other way to open them? No sir, I myself tried all kinds of methods in the past. I only respond to registered fingerprints, sir. Yeah, but does that fingerprint have to be an actual finger? Does that finger have to be attached to someone? You know. The important questions. I wonder what kinds of methods he's tried. If the man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to its registered fingerprints, then he must be the person the locker was assigned to. Yeah, Drag, I'm not sure that Meekins is forgetting his own locker. I don't think Meekins has a locker, and I think Meekins is just nosy. Exactly my point, sir. And this too. How do you know that information? I heard rumours, sir, from people in the know, sir. People in the know. The workers in the department cafeteria, sir. They keep me informed. I also listen to my romantic troubles, sir. For the record, the opened locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verified this information through a more reliable source. So the victim opened the locker with his own fingerprint. However, the most important detail is not shown in this video. The man's face. And sir, if I may say something, sir. Please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock, and it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with the security video? Yes, there's a problem with the security video because we lose track of Goodman and we really shouldn't. Regarding the video contained on this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. Strange? This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. What? This video contains such a contradiction? Interesting. Your Honour, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth? I propose we have the defence point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. Well, if you're going to make me do that, I'm going to watch it again right now, just in case. So I can figure out what I would like to choose. Seriously, why is the CCTV camera at a level where people would be able to, like, break it off the wall? Right. Goodman comes in. Opens... I have an idea. I've had a thought. I've had two thoughts, actually. Two thoughts. Yeah, it was evidence that fell. It's this glove. But what that means is, oh no, wait, I need to look at it again. I need to check this again, actually. Because I don't think that locker was locked. Okay, no, it's not, okay, it's not actually sticking out to start with. Never mind. Maybe that isn't it. I was wondering if it was like sticking out slightly and it meant that the locker wasn't fully... Oh, it falls from behind the lock part, I think. Falls from behind the lock part, so I think that glove was preventing the locker from having actually locked. But I could be wrong. Oh, but also, we don't have a picture. No. We don't have a picture of the dead Goodman, which is annoying. Because I wanted to check if he had Meekin's blood on him. But we don't have that. Okay. You would want me to point it out. Very well. Proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of. I have to point out a problem in the video? This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. But please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer? Also, I didn't actually say, hello, Nick. How you doing? I got distracted. Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Where is the contradiction that indicates the man may not have been Detective Goodman? Okay. Yeah, it's not visible there. Ah. Darn. Nope. Yeah. I think. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Yes, that is strange. Something certainly seems unnatural about that. I clearly haven't actually picked the right thing. Darn. What could it mean? Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Wright, but you seem to have forgotten the point of this exercise. The point? What you're looking for is one thing and one thing only. Something that indicates the man may not have been Detective Goodman. Yeah, and I pointed it out. It's not my fault that the game doesn't read my mind. Oh, here. Phew, I almost walked right into the... I almost walked right into the defense's trap. I'll place him under arrest, sir. Rats, I need to slow down and tackle these things one piece at a time. Now what do I do? Hello, Carl. How are you doing? I think what I do is check the guide. Because I had an idea of what I was doing and apparently it's not correct. I mean, I guess it's the fact that that Goodman seems to be completely disappearing. If it's already lit. Oh, yes, I forgot about the light. Thank you. I forgot about the light. That's the thing that I forgot existed. Thank you, Carl. Whereas I was like, it's clearly, I think it's unlocked because I think the glove was an unlocking mechanism. I didn't go for the fact that there's an obvious thing that tells you if it's unlocked. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Officer Meekins. Sir, do you mean me, sir? As I understand it, the locker apparatus... Why do we have Blue Badger music again? The locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind to a little bit earlier. Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit! Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Order! Order! What is the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked. Yeah, well, there was a glove in the way. Oh, I know, it must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh well. It just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor. Yes, why wasn't the locker locked? And here's the point where I present my other thing that I was one step ahead of on. Me, Your Honor. Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jammed the system's sensor? Something jammed the sensor. Say, something else that seems out of place in this video. Yes, there's something else! Which was the thing that I noticed. Yeah, I thought so too. There's got to be another clue somewhere in this footage. Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out the cause of this. Yeah. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. Hey, no, we're not having Blue Badge music. Silence. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. If you overload your locker, yes, because I often fall out and roll great distances when I open my car door, sir. Meekins. Meekins, what are you doing? We can't be sure the item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? Inserted? This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times, it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Meekins! How are you alive? Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Well, it's a latex glove. They are rather thin, Judge. Not only that, but it would have to block electrical currents. Yeah, like a latex glove. It would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator. But at the crime scene, there just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, but by insulator you don't mean... I think I've finally got this figured out. Ah, good, Phoenix. Nice of you to catch up with the rest of us. Yeah, Drag, his tie is tucked under his jacket? I'll go with jacket for the blue thing. Very well. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker door? That would be this rubber glove. I found this near the locker. A thin rubber glove. Which is in fact the exact thing you can see falling in that video, people. I mean, seriously, were you actually watching? But we can't be sure this was in the victim's locker. We can because it's tagged SL9. It has a tag that says SL9 incident. The victim the video seems to depict the victim opening the locker, but that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. They were watching, but did they see the fingers? I paused it and showed them the still. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekins? Sir, it would appear so, sir. Order! 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 So are we to believe, then, that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman? Do not be misled, Your Honor. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility, and nothing more. Man, Edgeworth, I thought you were going to point out that we have no idea if Meekins actually stabbed the guy. But you know. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. Prove it. Prove it, Edgeworth. Prove it. And if you're going to say, because he used his card, I think that Detective Goodman lost his ID card. And that's what he was filling out the lost item form for. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir? Me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. If you don't have your ID card, filling out your ID can be hard. Yeah, it did look like he was having difficulty filling out his ID number, right? Because it looks like... Where is it? Let's... that one. Because it kind of looks like he's like... Is it a 9? Is it a 7? Is it a 9? Who knows? Oh, you mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is this a joke? Very well. Begin your testimony. Mystery Man, number 2. Part 2, I guess. There's one thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At a time of the crime, the detective had used his card. An ID card record, I see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID used at 5:14 is that of the victim. Well, yeah, it's his ID card. But unfortunately, Edgeworth, the victim was already dead in the boot of your car at that point. You know, and that's the main problem here. Just before the crime. Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. That is certainly going to be a smaller selection of cases, isn't it? Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleaned up by noon. Right, I see. Now let us move on to the cross-examination. Okay. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir. He didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't have been any reason to draw a knife. Which means that his ID card didn't match his current face. Maybe he just panicked. Well, that would prove that he was up to nefarious ends if he panicked. Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with this ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we've got. Alright, we're gonna need to present something. The problem is I have to think about what the game wants from me, because what I want to say is it would be extremely difficult for Detective Goodman to enter the evidence room at 5:14 when his body was found in the boot of a car that entered the prosecutor's office lot at 5:12. But I don't know how to make that work in game. you know? Well, the problem is that we don't know... Yeah, the problem is also that we don't know if what this lost item report is for, because he didn't finish filling it out. I don't know if the thing I want to explain is the thing that I'm supposed to be explaining right now. That's the one problem with these games. Right. Oh, it's gotta be for his ID card. It's absolutely got to be for his ID card. We might as well try and present this to this statement. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. No, I didn't find it near the body. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. A lost item report. It's only half completed. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess. You believe this something to be his ID card, right? Well, it would be an awful lot easier to fill out this thing if he had his ID card on him, Edgeworth. Can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. Order! Order! So, now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Stole his ID card after killing the... Well, no. Stole his ID card earlier in the day. Later in the day, killed Detective Goodman, bundled him into the back of Edgeworth's car, then used his ID to get into the evidence room to obtain something out of SL9. No, there has to be something before that. There has to be something before that. The something before that involves messing with the locker as it is. So maybe Goodman was actually killed in the evidence room, and then his locker set up so that it could be opened later, and the video deleted of the actual murder. Anyway, the point is, the ID card got to the second crime scene because the person impersonating Detective Goodman brought it there and dropped it there, and we all know who was at that other crime scene and responsible for that other crime scene. That was our sheriff. There we go. Order! 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 Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo. Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. Yes, because Detective Goodman was already in the boot of your car, Edgeworth. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. And third, the victim was already dead. And in the back of your car. And 30 minutes away from here. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes? What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is... Well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago, you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to go well. Yeah, Edgeworth is letting us have these easy wins because he's like, well, this proves that the other murderer couldn't be the murderer, and therefore the initial murderer is still the murderer. Well, well. It seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only have taken place at one location, the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. The murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. No, Edgeworth. A murder did happen at the police department, it just wasn't at 5:15. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment when the defendant used the murder weapon. I don't think your witness is trustworthy, Edgeworth. I think your witness is in cahoots with the real murderer. You know? Yeah. I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something or else, Lana. What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Well, objecting is the only thing. One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. I've only proved that that wasn't the time the murder happened. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing, and one thing only. Security video did not show the actual murder. Because the murder happened earlier in the evidence room while that locker was open. And then the murderer messed up the lock system, left, and then came back later. However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor? If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you mean... Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness. Oh? Who do you have in mind? Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testified, what is his or her name? Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? Can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He is in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. February 24th, 11:32 AM. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? Oh, what do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. Yes, Jake Marshall stole... Stole Goodman's ID. Stole Goodman's ID earlier in the day. Goodman had to use a temporary ID to get into the evidence room at a later point because he needed the stuff from SL9 out of his locker. Jake Marshall ambushed him while he was in the middle of that, killed him, which resulted in the rather large amount of blood in the evidence room next to his locker. Took his body... No. Wait a second. Whoever was the fake Goodman in the evidence room had to have had a set of clothes that looks just like Goodman's clothes, because they couldn't have used Goodman's actual clothes because Goodman's actual clothes were with Goodman's body in the boot of Edgeworth's car. So a separate outfit. Right. Which I feel like we could prove. I guess it only really proves that the guy wasn't Goodman, and we already proved that. But I mean, if we saw Goodman, the actual Goodman's coat, we could see if Meekins' blood was on it. But that still doesn't actually help us. Right. I haven't figured anything out. Hannah, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. No, whatever you were here for, Gumshoe, I would like to know it. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top you off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, Detective. You better be, pal. Hey. I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh. You mean this, right? My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them. I can't believe you, the Chief Prosecutor, were a witness in that case. Oh, so she was involved too. Miss Sky was a witness. SL9 incident files received from Lana Sky. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Now I've brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma? But why? Why is your name in here? What? My name's in here? I don't know unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana, the SL9 incident, is that? That is the classification number the police filed it under. Hello, Shema. It's going fine today. How is your day going? Two years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. Oh, Joe Dark. No, Lana. It's over with. No. Emma, wait. She ran away. Yeah, you know what? I just remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Jake Marshall, Angel Star, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file. Save the progress. February 24th, 12:14 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. Dark stuff incoming. Don't you mean dark with an E? Anyway, speaking of dark with an E. Cell 9 closed. Perpetrator Joe Dark. Crime, serial murder, sentence, death. Victims: Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jeff Bates, Neil Marshall. Marshall. I'm assuming that Neil Marshall is related to Jake Marshall, and that's why he can't let this case go. Head prosecutor, Miles Edgeworth. Witnesses, Lana Skye, Emma Skye. Investigation task force. Executive investigators, Damon Gant, Lana Skye. Head investigator, Bruce Goodman. Investigators, Jake Marshall, Angel Star. That's not very much information to go on. Okay. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind. I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner? Yeah, and he clearly wasn't actually guarding it at the time the not a murder took place. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best if we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make the rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. You were drinking on the job, Marshall? I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. How rude, Marshall! The judge's beard is incredible. It's far better than yours. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? Did Marshall not actually set that glove up? Did Marshall believe that all he needed to do to get into Goodman's locker was dress up like him and use his ID card? Did Marshall not realize that that locker was already unlocked? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines. Or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. So a restaurant rather than a bar then, okay. Not even Angel's steak lunches can beat that Paola's vongole sepia pasta. Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? No, Judge. He said he abandoned them to eat spaghetti. Which is not noodles. And I'll argue with anyone about that. I dislike the Americans' insistence on calling everything noodles. What's the difference? I don't know well enough, but I've seen enough Americans refer to every single shape of pasta as noodles, and it bothers me. I know shape-wise there isn't any difference with spaghetti, but like other types being called noodles really, really bothers me. Um, not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. I hope this has at least taught you a lesson. Strange. It's usually where Edgeworth says, did you not want a raise this year? Innocent my foot. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. Also, why is it that he's supposed to be making the rounds 3 times a day? Shouldn't he be sat next to those security monitors watching them all day? Once again, I call into question the security methods of this police station. No desperados I know join the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime... Just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. Lies. Lies. All lies. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Did you know anything about that? Sorry, partner, can't say I do. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? How? How? He is clearly not doing his job. You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course! Back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet, you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism. Sorry, partner, I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a bike works. Officer Marshall, how bloody dumb are you? Like, you can clearly see how a bike works from the outside of the bike. It's not particularly obscure. I mean, maybe he can't drive. Who knows? Maybe he does ride a horse. No, wait, he told us what he rides, right? Surely. I think it's a motorbike, right? I want to say he told us that before, but I could be wrong. Also, I must apologise to Officer Meekins. I thought Officer Meekins was dumb, but I think Officer Marshall might be dumber. Which is how we're going to manage to actually pin this crime on it, but you know. That's quite, incredible. I mean, admittedly, the only crime we can actually pin on Marshall is, impersonating Goodman and, theft of evidence. But, you know. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something about that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Yeah, that's true. At least Meekins does his job. Not necessarily well, but he does it. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? Alright. I'm gonna press this one, because we haven't pressed it yet. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still, even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who interred the recordings. You interred them. Videos are nothing, ain't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. Okay, so he knows enough about technology to erase a tape. Good. So he knows enough to have been able to erase the tape of him killing Goodman in the evidence room. Got it. If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So, in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. Right. We have evidence that he entered the room. Because we have his bloody handprints that's been wiped away. My job is to keep wary eye on the bird orchard. So I was supposed to make the rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. The room's protected by 2 security systems. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to... Well, I have ammo, I'm just not sure where I'm firing it. Let's press this one for completeness' sake. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall? That's right, partner. Or as you'd call it, evidence. If you plan to pin me into this crime, then you'd better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. Hey, what makes you think I'm trying to pin a crime on you, Marshall? You committed any crimes that I might be trying to pin on you? My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that. And apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I'd better keep my cool. Before I use it though, I'd better up the ante. So we're not supposed to be using the trump card yet then. Huh. I mean, it's true. The part where he said he hasn't entered there in months, like, it's in here. Boo. So what would be the most appropriate? My job was to keep a wary eye on their bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. The room's protected by 2 security systems. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon. Maybe we just throw it at the ammo one. Because this is my ammo. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. Yeah, but in blood? I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness! What's the meaning of this? Blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene. The blood was wiped away, however, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? It seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well. You may begin your testimony about your fingerprints. Found at the scene of the crime. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be in the same place as the bloodstained handprints. Well, that would certainly be a coincidence, Mr. Marshall. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. Did we know the murderer was wearing gloves? The witness's explanation appears valid. Although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something. I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Yeah, I would like to know about those gloves, please. How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a blood stain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer, wearing gloves, happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint, and then wipe the blood away, but not wipe the blood away on the other handprint? I don't think so. I don't think so, Marshall. That's the only logical conclusion. Can't let him squirm out of this one. I've got to find something. Something decisive to tie Officer Marshall to this crime. Well, let's press all the things, I guess. That's because you... how did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happened to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. Marshall's fingerprints updated in the court record. A bloody handprint on Marshall's own locker. Wait a second, so that's your locker, Marshall? I'd really like to see the inside of it, you know? I would really like to see the inside of your locker and find out if it's got a set of clothes that look awful like Detective Goodman's and that happen to have Officer Meakin's blood on them. You know, that'd be nice. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? This seal of blood in the desert is just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. Security tape. So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, it's not Gumshoe's locker we're after, it's Marshall's locker that I would like to look inside. The one that's got that piece of fabric sticking out of it. That piece of white fabric. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me into this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera is panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. Yeah, I think the person who dressed as Goodman probably got out crawling, right? If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have any time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. Well, there must be something. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. Right. So that's Marshall's locker. Marshall's locker. Marshall's locker. Marshall's locker. Marshall's locker with a piece of white cloth sticking out of it. Got ya! Bringing our attention back to the security camera. It's a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? 8 words or less. Someone opened your locker. It must be you. 8. Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Okay, that's also eight words, I guess. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. I mean, I managed exactly 8 words as well. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. Well, that was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. The white cloth, it's gone. What is the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. It suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order! Order! It would... What was that? It would seem that's the only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I was the one who opened it. Except it does. And Edgeworth knows it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? Because this guy isn't just playing dumb. You gotta love it. You gotta love it when the criminal's an idiot. That's how you catch them. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker? Now prove it. Locker. Fingerprint sensor? Yeah, the one we mentioned like at least twice already, sir? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force who don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! But he used 9 words in total. I only got 1 word for you, partner, is 8 words. And then he said, no! That's 9 words. Order! 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 Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. I mean, clearly the answer was stealing evidence, but... Olay, please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Here. Officer Marshall was standing right here. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in this video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me! Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. Yeah, but it didn't match his current face. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Well, yeah, can you show us inside your locker? Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Once again, what have you got against his beard, Marshall? It's a perfectly good beard. Look at it! It's majestic! It's a wonderful specimen of a beard. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt? Their Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim. Well, oh my kidding, I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. What's happening? It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? Because he had blood-stained clothes he needed to get rid of. What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance that despite the chance that it might be discovered later, as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. To stash the disguise. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot. Very well, let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker and put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Alright. Fast forward. Fast forward. We need the fact that this thing is stained. That'll do. That seems like a good frame for it. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, although I don't know to what end. Yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. Bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have had to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. All right. Seems the time has come. For him to confess to stealing evidence, because that's the only thing we can actually get him for. Threatening an officer maybe as well, but I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out, managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't get caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one other thing I don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Right? I mean, like, a hand wound's gonna bleed a lot, but it's not gonna bleed that much. Not an Officer Meekins still be with us today. Alright. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself, one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? Because one of the victims is very clearly related to him. Well, not very clearly. I mean, I'm just going off a surname here, but... That day was my last chance. That's why I... Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? Because he thought all he needed to do was pretend to be Goodman to get into his thing. If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card. And I stole that the morning of the incident. Yeah, and then you dropped it on the ground in the parking garage later. So So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But he could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. Yeah, he was certainly instrumental in helping us solve this part, wasn't he? When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and... So you did your research beforehand? Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it'd make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So, what you're saying is, on that day... But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? I do in fact know why. I think. And that would be this. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago? Oh. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right, he was killed, and the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? They're probably brothers, or maybe cousins, or a father or an uncle, but, you know, probably brothers. He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, the then Deputy Chief of Police. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother more better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it. That's your reason for your insane actions. There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened in the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. No, I still disagree with you, Edgeworth. The blood on that floor isn't all Meekins. The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance. It's got to be more than just that. So, if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which, in turn, means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lara Sky.
Objection!
But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial.
Objection!
Which is why we examined the incidents at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. What about the missing evidence in the giant pile of blood? Pile of blood. Pile of blood is not the right word. Pool. Pool of blood. A pile of blood would be disturbing in a different way. A sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Sky. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. Well, I guess that single word is objection. Yeah! I rest my case. It seems that this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time. Disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, for the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... Hold it! I'm assuming this is... Yep, Emma. Your Honor, wait! Emma, the defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? In a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute, I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So, did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad, I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Can we check and see if it's Goodman's blood? Please? Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer the question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could it be something I'm missing? I'm pretty sure I need to object, but I'm also pretty sure I need more water before that, so I will be right back. And I'm back. The badger saves the day, huh? Probably. I mean, there's still that handprint in the blue badger, right? I object. Objection! This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is that you're grasping, Mr. Wright. Not the handprints on the badger, but a different reason. The blood flap on the badger? You have been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on here? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Oh, because the blue badger was really rather in the way of someone getting to that locker. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing from the floor plans? Badger. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Yes, rather in the way. Well, what? Yep, that's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing there, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. What? So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me! I didn't put it there! Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically! Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Officer Meekins, you mean you didn't notice a bloody handprint? Really? Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. Problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape has already been proven to be a fake. However, that doesn't explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? Ah, right. ID number all 7s is probably a temporary pass that Goodman had to use to go do the thing he was supposed to do with the locker. To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Martin, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. That's right! The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? This one. ID card report. So it's got to be... Ooh. That's awfully close to when Edgeworth went in. But hey. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Ah! Yeah! Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. But apparently 20 minutes is physically possible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the charts again. There's only one other card number remaining. 7777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait! That doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. Okay, it's not necessarily a temporary card, it could be the card of the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7 sevens. I'm going to call it 7 sevens from now on because it's easier. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number this 7777777. I think you did too many 7s there, Judge. Yeah, you've got 8 of them. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 7 sevens belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. Oh, so you mean... You mean it is this guy then? On the basis that the murderer isn't going to be someone we haven't met. That's not how these things go. So it has to be someone we've met. Which makes it Damon Gant. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority. if an official charge is filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you could keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Yes? No, not you. To her. The defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7 sevens. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident. Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Well, that's the question, isn't it? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least I did. Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. Before I realized that we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Well, why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to do in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence. See? That's what I'm talking about. No! No! Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir, the chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. The prosecutor's office just admitted to forging evidence. Wonderful. February 24th, 3:12 p.m. Wright & Co. law offices. I mean, it's not a fourth trial day though, because the first trial day was technically on day 2. So it's still 3 days of trial. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dart killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean? What happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. It must have been before he became an attorney. Yeah, but you'd think... Well, I guess he must have been at school somewhere completely else then. Because otherwise you'd think you'd at least have heard about some serial murders. On the news or whatever. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial. I didn't see that one coming. Well, we knew she was a witness, but hey. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day. Unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. And suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then... what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. A permanent picture. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma, you've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago. You must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumours about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course! This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Yeah, isn't that like half an hour away? Because the detective offices and the questioning room are right across from the elevator. They question people in the bottom of the prosecutor's office? Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly! Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. Oh. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Interesting. Lana used to be a detective. I'd better have another talk with her. Yeah, we should. February 24th, Detention Center Visitors Room. Lana! Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence? I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago. And how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details? Especially about that unusual change of jobs. I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. Today's trial though first. A lot of revelations were uncovered in the trial today. Not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen as well. Though I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15 there was no murder at the police department. Tell me is not true, Lana, what the witness Miss Starr said about you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed before. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing! They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Ah, so it's not Edgeworth that Lana's covering for, is it? It's Gant, obviously. I guess she knows who did the murdering. Chief Gant. He was the Deputy Chief of Police back then, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever! They solved crimes before the reports could be even filed! Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes so you could use that experience in court, right? Gant's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became Chief of Police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. Two years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the investigation lead was Damon Gant, right? Yes. Deputy Chief Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. Damon Gant and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages, and Dark must have suddenly panicked. So he waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Deputy Chief Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her after all her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Dark under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident? That's right. Quite a coincidence, I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident. Just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The Chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the Chief's office. The site of the final SL9 murder. Maybe we should. Criminal Affairs. February 24th, Police Station, Criminal Affairs Department. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. The Chief of Detectives seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. February 24th, Police Department entrance. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things would turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Que sera, sera. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? How are you not in a cell? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Well, he thinks he needs to go in a cell. He stabbed a guy! Accidentally, but he stabbed a guy. He deliberately threatened the guy. He also stole stuff and effectively broke and entered. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. Oh, Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. No. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence that we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Doc's, alright. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match to the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? And that case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. Yeah, I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. That just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he, your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that day. The highest honor? You mean the King of Prosecutors? I knew it. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have been close to his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right, it was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. If that case took place the day of the evidence transferal, then why was evidence for this case being transferred this time? Because it can't have been a full 2 years up. Surely it would have waited till next year. I don't know. It was drizzling that morning. By nightfall, there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. The star was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What's about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No, they were careful enough to not be too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Skye. The investigation lead, Damon Gant, and his second-in-command, Lana Skye. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah, Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Skye was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. So, there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. I believe you. I believe you that Gant is sus. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. May as well follow him over there then. February 24th, Prosecutor's Office, underground parking lot. No one's here today. Not even Miss Starr. Everyone's probably busy looking into exactly what went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are. But we proved in court today that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case. But instead it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. Got to find all the answers by tomorrow. What I really want is to go and look in the Chief of Police's office, but apparently I'm not allowed to do that right now. February 24th, High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. Mr. Edgeworth isn't here. Maybe he's being questioned by an inquiry committee? He took a real beating in court today. Yeah, with Lana admitting to falsifying evidence 2 years ago. I guess we'll just have to come back later. There isn't anything particularly obvious for us to look at, I don't think. Maybe if we go back to the police department, there will be a gumshoe. Aha! Progress. February 24th, Police Station Criminal Affairs Department. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media and to tomorrow's trial, there's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. I think that says something about his Christmas day, huh? If he's referring to it as chaos. Sir, we'd like to have a look around in Chief Gant's office. Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. That's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. Because we're going there anyway. Well, if that doesn't scream villain. Who has a full-on organ in their office? Clearly someone who wants to be able to go doo, doo, doo. February 24th, Police Department Chief's Office. Whoa, where am I and why does it look like a church? It's got stained glass windows and everything. It doesn't scream villain, it's highlighted with a giant neon sign, yes. In the chief's office, silly! At least that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Back. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. I never could remember where C was. You and me both, Emma. That's true, that's what a pipe organ is for. Do, 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 do. Right? Oh, he's here. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. So, righto! Have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies! See that big picture up on the wall over there? Look! It's the pot we put together! That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. Hold on a moment. Hold on a... You know, I thought the thing missing from this trophy was the rest of the shield, but it's not. It's the sword. The sword isn't there anymore. Oh, what they meant by the switchblade wasn't a perfect match to the thing that stabbed Mr. Marshall. Mr. Marshall, I think, was stabbed by this sword. You see how it's got the same sort of end as the other one? I wonder if they broke the switchblade in that particular way to make it seem like it was the switchblade. Anyway, so this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Mr. Hughes and Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it though. Yeah, I know you can't, Phoenix, but we've got it. It's this and that. Hey, and it goes into the court record, thank goodness. Photo of the award ceremony, at the award ceremony of Gant, Lana and Neil. Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh. The yellow shiny thing on the right. Yeah, it's that armor, I think. That suit of armor over there. But this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it anymore. Oh, he's definitely the baddie. In fact, I bet he stabbed Neil himself. And then Goodman, 2 years later. Now, hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. Looks like we aren't welcome. It seems that case isn't over with yet after all. What do you mean? Chief Gant denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there. You mean like a clue? There's got to be a way we can get inside the chief's office. Who do we know who knows how to lockpick? February 24th, Police Station Criminal Affairs Department. Hey, pal! Detective Gumshoe! Aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? I'm, just taking a breather. My feet hurt. From sitting so long? Actually, from serving everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe is still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No. Why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battles between you two in court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor is responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but as you know, there's been a lot of rumours going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor's kept him safe from those who don't like him. But now with this... Are there really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth has not only that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime. My treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. It seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth might just crack. Actually, I took a look over the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dark left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean... when he killed Prosecutor Marshall? He was trying to protect some girl. Me. It seems Detective Gumshoe never realised Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Now let's finish talking to him about this stuff first. Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take to serial killing? One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So, it was an accident? An accident, yes. But it transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed a man that witnessed the accident. Then he killed a lady who saw the second crime. A kid walked by just then, so he killed him too. Then when he was burying the body, the jogger came on the scene and he killed him as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. So he turned himself in. Yeah, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim. Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily Dark was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed. That last witness, aka Emma. Right. The murder weapon. About this. Hey, is that? It has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of? What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker. It was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. Welcome back, Nick. That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. This knife, it was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at. Plus it has his fingerprints on it too. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at this, look at the knife, you see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well, anyway. Take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Well, I guess it was in Marshall's back then. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet, down to the last fibre. That's pretty conclusive. Neil's autopsy report was added to the court record. Stabbed in the back, died from a punctured heart and lung. A knife tip was in the wound. Switchblade knife updated in the court record. The broken tip was found in the victim's body. Belonged to murderer Joe Dark. Quite a bit of force to break the knife, right? As I said, I suspect this wasn't what stabbed Marshall. As I said, I suspect that the break in this knife was manufactured to make it look like the shape of... the sword or lance or whatever that is part of the King of Prosecutors trophy, which, as you see, has exactly the same end to it. So I think that Marshall was stabbed with this, and then someone broke the end off of Dark's switchblade to make it the same shape, and then shoved the broken bit and the switchblade into Marshall's back. That's my guess. Because for fun, it's also another knife swapperoo. Because Edgeworth's knife I'm pretty sure wasn't the knife that was used to stab Goodman. I think that was the SL9 knife. And Lana did a knife switcheroo with Edgeworth's knife in the back of Edgeworth's car, which is why someone saw her stab Goodman. This new case is mirroring the case that caused it, as it were. Anyway, well, there you have it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gant. It's not money, but it does concern the Chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The Chief's out now and his office is locked. But we'd like to have a look around if that's okay. Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door. What? Really? Oh, we can just use Goodman's ID then, because no one's taking it away from us. But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust. Breach of trust? Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you. How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's. I don't think we have the temporary ID anymore, do we? That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died. Oh. So in other words, Gumshoe was our only chance of getting into that office. I wonder if there's something we could show him that'll make him change his mind. Something we could show to Gumshoe. Is it going to be that picture? don't think I have anything good. Not anything that's going to make Gumshoe risk his job for us. Where else have we got? Let's just keep scrolling through the things until we find somewhere where we have new information. February 24th, High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. Yes, maybe we can get Edgeworth to convince Gumshoe to let us in. I wonder if Edgeworth is back yet. There he is! He looks like he's writing something. What are you doing here? He sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Tough day in court, huh? I've had to live the past 2 years with rumours flying around. What's another allegation to me? Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you. That's Edgeworth for you. Always trying to hide his real feelings. So, what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. And that's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, that the evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error. My responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same no matter what excuses I might have. Mr. Edgeworth, I take pride in my work. So tell me why? Why did it all come to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. Are you up for the trial tomorrow? First last year's trial, now this one. It seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves. But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial. Tomorrow is the last day, so too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? The list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. It's only half as long as most lists? That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but I knew what I had to do. Use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty. That was really the only thing on my mind at the time. Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time. A picture? Something seemed strange about it. Could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered? You were participating in a ceremony over at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one. Because you were awarded this? Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. You can have other people accept things in your place sometimes, right? I finished up at the office in the morning, then drove over to the police department. You finished up at the office? Yes, just odds and ends. Clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is until I was asked to take something back. Take something back? This. Oh yeah, Chief Gant asked you to hold on to that, didn't he? Yes, so Chief Gant knew that Edgeworth was going back to the prosecutor's office then. Which means it's quite sensible to put the body in his car. Yes, it was a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office. That's the story we heard yesterday. So you came back to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to? That's right. Okay, I'm going to present Edgeworth with this photo and go, why does your award look different, Edgeworth? This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He had just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy. Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me. Yes? The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding is a little different than yours. Yes, you're right. Ah, I remember now. Remember what? That was what the official prosecutor's trophy looked like until 2 years ago. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense for a prosecutor's trophy to be a shield. The sword makes a lot more sense. There's a story behind its design. Yeah, it's like a sword and a broken shield, which makes sense for prosecutors. Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. Really? This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with 2 characters. The first means halberd, and the second means shield. Have you heard this story? Yeah, I guess if in Chinese it does that, then that means that the kanji probably looks like that too, given that kanji gets borrowed from Chinese, right? Me? Sure. Everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it though? For Emma's sake. Very well. Long ago, in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day, he presented the king with 2 items. The first was a halberd he claimed could slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Wait a minute. Those claims contradict each other. Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard the story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of these items discredit them both. Sorry, I'm just checking the kanji things. Yeah. Yes, the word for the kanji for contradiction in Japanese is also made of the kanji that means spear and shield. Yes, Strag. The immovable object and the unstoppable force. Exactly. Exactly like that. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus the Chinese word for contradiction was born. Oh, I see! So the chipped shield and broken knife symbolize... Precisely so. They symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words. But it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion. Even if it results in something as ugly as this. Oh, thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today. So did I. That's funny. If that's so, then why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished. Haha. Abolished, huh? More like hidden away because it had traces of blood on it. Chief Gant. King of Prosecutors Trophy updated in the court record. 2 years ago, the halberd was removed at Gant's behest, giving it its current form. Well now, well now, well now. Oh yeah, there was the thing under his desk. Which I did see before we were talking to him. I wonder what he was writing before. Come on, Mr. Wright, let's take a look. Are you crazy? Edgeworth is sitting right there. Just distract him, I'll check it out. Hey, Edgeworth. Is that Detective Gumshoe out the window there? Oh no, he's falling to the ground. Hold on. First let me see what this girl's doing crawling around my feet. He didn't even look. What? Letter of... If you're having trouble reading, I'll read it for you. It says letter of resignation. Resignation? Edgeworth, you don't mean... I'm tired, right? I feel as if something inside me has died. But Mr. Edgeworth, none of it is your fault. I know the path I've walked. You don't need to tell me. And the path I've walked hasn't been a just one. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. And no one else should forgive me either. Uh-oh. I think he's serious. You're gonna go grab food, are you, Nick? Yeah, I'm gonna do that very shortly as well, because I'm getting real hungry, so I'm gonna finish talking to Edgeworth and then I think I'm gonna wrap up. My stomach is complaining. So... Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something! This letter of resignation. I wonder if I can use it for anything. Like convincing Gumshoe! Letter of resignation put into pocket. Yeah, I'm going to call the stream here because I'm getting hungry. I need to go make food. So this seems like an okay-ish point to end. At least it's not a major cliffhanger, I suppose. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching today. It's been fun. If you're new here and you've enjoyed your time, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on social media, which is linked in the description box. Streaming schedule for this channel gets put both over there on social media and over here on YouTube in the community tab. This was the last scheduled stream of the week, so there will be a new schedule up later tonight. I need to do some checking about my schedule for other things before I put it up, so the next stream will be either Monday or Tuesday, and that'll be more Sakura Wars. So you'll know for sure once I put the schedule up. So yeah, I hope to see you next time or another time. And once again, thank you very much for coming. And this is Kalla signing out. See ya. Bye bye.